Last tea leaf read from you, Albert. The pro day for Anthony Richardson just completed while we were conversing. He looked dynamite. This just in, no surprise. And the Panthers visited everybody's pro day and took 3 of the 4 prospects out to dinner. I don't know if the Raiders muscled in for dinner reservations before they could secure one with Anthony Richardson. If it doesn't matter, they had a meeting with him anyway. But the bottom line is the Raiders are the ones who took Richardson out to dinner. What to make of that? Anything?
Yeah. Not really. I mean, my understanding was because of the owners' meetings and all the stuff that comes along with it, a couple of the Panthers guys couldn't get in time last night to make like the big full-on dinner with Anthony Richardson. I wouldn't make too much of it. I think that I think that they're going to meet with him. I'm not 100% on this, but I think that their plan was to try to do something with him again tonight, spend a little more time with him with a more full group, and they're going to have these guys, to Charlotte for 30 visits anyway. So they're going to get plenty of time with each of these guys. So I think this was more logistical around.
Sure, but what about the Raiders?
But what
about the Raiders fact of it? Yeah. What about the Raiders fact of it?
The Raiders just took the dinner slot.
I know. But
the Raiders met privately with Will Levis and C.J. Stroud and Anthony and Bryce Young the night before those guys' pro days last year. It's just the Panthers had the dinner slot last week, so this week the Raiders had the dinner slot because the Panthers logistically couldn't get all their guys there. I wouldn't read too much into it. I think. The Raiders are in a similar spot to the Seahawks. The Seahawks have done all this work too. The Raiders and Seahawks, I think, are both in this spot where it's we're comfortable with our guys, with Geno Smith and Jimmy Garoppolo, but we also don't plan to be drafting this high again for a while. And so while we're sitting here, if we may even be right now planning not to take a quarterback at 5 or 7, but we at least need to have a full understanding of what we'd be passing on. And so, I think it's smart for them to do all that work because if one of those guys, winds up blowing them away or they get to the point where it's we really think we'd be in a good spot if we took Anthony Richardson, well, then what an awesome situation they would have. They'd have a starting quarterback for the next year or two, and they'd have the flexibility to be able to sit Richardson for a year or 2 years, which a lot of people think he needs, and have him ready to go as their starting quarterback in 2024 or 2025.
Right, exactly. But the question is I guess, and then I'll let you go. 1 month from tonight is the draft. What's more likely? I'm going to use one of our staple segments here from our program. What's more likely, the Cardinals make the pick at 3 or one of the 2 teams you just mentioned trades up to go take Richardson if he's sitting there at 3?
I think neither of those things happen. I think the Cardinals are going to trade the pick. I don't know if the Seahawks or Raiders will come up. I think the Cardinals are in a good spot to trade the pick. I think so much of this is on Levis and Richardson, though. Increasingly, I'm starting to feel like it's going to be Young and Stroud in one order or the other, 1 and 2. And that puts the Cardinals in a tremendous position on paper because you would think that. Okay, some team is going to try to hop the Colts, right? Because you see the Colts there at 4.
Yep.
Most people expect them to take a quarterback there. But what if no one's that in love with Levis or Richardson? That. So that I think is where things are. And so, and I don't know that Seattle or Vegas. I think they could take a quarterback if one falls to them. I don't know that they would get aggressive and move up. I think that sort of still remains to be seen.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.